Hello, my name is Sean Kramer, and I will be discussing the novel The Art of Scientific Investigation by W.I.B. Beveridge. Before we begin, let's start with some background information. This novel was originally published in 1950, but the work I reported on is the third edition, which was published in 1957. Instead of focusing in a single scientific discovery or research topic, this novel provides a more general overview of the scientific method by documenting all important roles that play a factor in scientific investigations. Some of these you might be familiar with already, like preparation, hypotheses, experimentation, and observation, but other points of emphasis might be more abstract, like imagination, chance, and reason. Regardless of how silly or trivial some topics might sound, they all work together to form complete and sound scientific investigations. The first step in any form of scientific investigation is the necessary preparation of background knowledge and strategic planning of how the research is to be conducted. Beveridge states that merely reading relevant literature is not enough to be adequately prepared. Rather, a researcher must stay up to date with relevant literature and must read with a critical yet reflective mindset. Furthermore, he documents a 5-step sequence which outlines the culmination of preparation and strategy. First, relevant literature is critically reviewed, followed by the collection of field data, or something similar, as Beveridge was primarily a biological scientist. From this collected data, the information is correlated and a problem is derived, which is later broken down into a series of smaller questions. Intelligent guesses or hypotheses are made to answer these questions. And lastly, one or more experiments are designed to test the accuracy of the hypotheses, beginning with the likeliest hypothesis to the most crucial questions. It should be noted here that it is rarely the case that one is alone in their research. The more likely scenario is that a research advisor or committee provides assistance in the research strategy taken and how to approach a problem. In Beveridge's words, the hypothesis is the principal intellectual instrument in research, and its purpose is to indicate new experiments and observations. Although he does not delve too much into the creation of a good hypothesis, he does highlight bad practices which researchers tend to fall into when performing research in relation to their hypotheses. One must resist the temptation to become overly attached to their hypothesis. If contrary evidence arises during an experiment, the researcher should not be afraid to modify or discard their original hypothesis instead of modifying the experiment. In a similar vein, research should be wary of being biased in favor of their hypothesis. There could be cases where research could be tailored to better suit the narrative of the overall work and prove the hypothesis as correct, which does not lead to meaningful discoveries. Once the preparation, strategy, and hypothesis is implemented, the next phase of experimentation is observation. Two aspects of quality experiments is to 1, test the whole before the part, meaning that the experiment should be thorough and take into account all possible factors, and 2, the elimination of various possibilities systematically. While executing an experiment, the researcher should pay close attention to detail, take well thought out notes, and have objectivity when examining the results. This plays into observation, as the most effective forms often take notice of potentially minute details and giving them significance by relating them to something previously observed or something already known. Beyond the standard parts of the scientific method previously discussed, one facet of scientific investigation is the emphasis on imagination. Productive thinking is started off by the awareness of a difficulty or problem, and possible solutions are created, which can be either accepted or rejected, but most often these solutions are rejected. It is inherent to the mind of the researchers that they are curious to the explanation of phenomena that is not currently understood. But this can be a problem as they become narrow-minded into one specific train of thought. As a method of escaping this mindset, the problem can be temporarily abandoned as the researcher can clear their head before starting again, or they can discuss the problem with others who are unfamiliar with their work, giving them an opportunity to explain their ideas and receive feedback or viewpoints that they might not have considered before. How does chance and reason play into scientific investigations? Well, oftentimes new discoveries are a direct result of unexpected observations or a chance occurrence during an experiment. This factor in discovery should be appreciated by researchers and exploited to the fullest. Given the clues of an experiment, interpreting it and realizing the possible significance requires knowledge without fixed ideas, imagination, scientific know-how, and contemplating all unexplained observations. Oppositely, reason does not work in the traditional sense. Original discoveries are usually beyond the reach of classical reasoning, but the role of reason is not hitting on discoveries, either factual or theoretical, but by verifying, interpreting, and developing them and building a general theoretical model. Research does have its fair share of difficulties, though. The primary one of new discoveries is the mental resistance of others to replace established ideas with new ones. This cannot be done through independent evidence, even with demonstration, but new ideas must be correlated to some form of existing body of work, and premature discoveries usually result in neglected or lost findings. In the past, some of the greatest discoveries took many years to overcome established ideas as the mental resistance was too strong, and this occasionally resulted in the persecution of these scientists for their work. Even today, with the vast technological age we live in, some ideas might be too profound to immediately displace established ideas, and researchers should actively take notice of this. For example, consider the revolutionary work by Dr. Charles Darwin. When he released his findings about the theory of evolution, he received much pushback from the people who were hesitant to accept science, which openly contradicted their religion. Even today, the theory of evolution is still a problematic topic that some parts of America refuse to acknowledge in schools. To conclude, the mental requirements for research is an individual who is curious as to how things work and has a love for science. The incentive of research is the desire to be recognized by peers within their field, and a driving force is the thrill of discovering something new. From the topics discussed, there is a stark contrast that divides researchers into two broadly defined groups. On one end of the spectrum is the speculative worker, who relies on intuition and imagination, then tests their hypothesis through experimentation and observation in order to arrive at a solution. Oppositely, the other end of the spectrum is the systematic worker, who progresses more slowly and methodically by carefully reasoned stages and collects most of their data before arriving at a solution. Regardless of where you may fall onto this spectrum, there is no right or wrong research approach, as long as the scientific method is followed and progress is made towards a discovery. Thank you.